Welcome to Web3 and Me, presented by FLOLiO. I'm your host, Jeremy Weber, and today I'm joined by a very special co-host, my buddy Kevin Shannon. Kevin, how are we doing today?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good, man. Looking forward to talking about another weird week in NFTs. It's been quite the interesting, derivative-filled week with everything Goblin related. So we're going to break that down, talk about where we think the market is headed over the coming months and weeks. But before we do that, just a friendly reminder, hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and head over to FLOLiO.com. We got free tools for you to view your account valuation. So link your account. All you got to do is copy and paste your address from MetaMask, download our free browser extension, and we also have some cool new features on the site, some additional charts that you can check out for individual collections to help you make some better decisions. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Kev, we've seen volume remain fairly low over the last week. It's been a pretty steep fall off from the beginning of May. We saw the vast majority of May's sales volume happen in the first 5 days after other deeds launched. But, Wednesday, I guess Tuesday through Thursday, we did see things pick back up a little bit. Curious, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's just kind of a short-term blip, or are we kind of on the verge of maybe taking off again?
It's like crab trading. Everything's been going sideways for a while. I think that we're very close to the bottom, to a point where things will take off. The question is whether it's now or is it, end of June, July. Summer is usually super slow in terms of volume. So I don't know. I think we're close to a bottom. I think we can see a run up soon.
Okay. We've seen a lot going on with Goblin Town over the last week. That has definitely taken the majority of people's attention in the NFT space. It went pretty crazy earlier in the week. We saw it hit about 9 ETH per Goblin for a while there. It's pulled back. It's been hanging out between 6 and 7 for the last couple of days. We do know that at some point today, there's going to be a McGoblin Burger airdrop. I have no idea what to think about all this. It's I personally don't own any Goblins, but I love it. I think this whole thing is kind of a breath of fresh air. I think it's hilarious. Like, just the weird stuff they're doing, the weird Twitter spaces. I was so wrong about this. If you follow us on Instagram at FLOLiO_, I do like a morning recap video every day. And last week I put one out of like when Goblins were at 0.3, and I was like, this is stupid. It's going to go to 0 soon. Don't waste your money. And I really hope that people were just like, nah, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm going to buy one anyway. Like, oh boy, because it's been pretty crazy. What are your what have you been thinking about these Goblins the last few days?
I mean, I kind of liked them when they first came out.
Did you?
I just read the bio on OpenSea, and I'm like, this is hilarious. Like, there's lowercase, uppercase. It was like 60 letters in a row. And I went on Twitter and I was seeing what people were saying. And I think the coolest thing about the entire thing was the people in charge, the team. It was like, yeah, these have absolutely zero utility. So everyone knew that it was a joke, and I was like, this thing could go up pretty fast, and it did. It's almost like a car crash that's happening in slow motion. It's like, it just won't stop to keep going up. We're seeing a little bit of a pullback now, like you said, but I think they're here to stay for a bit.
I'm curious if this was something that they had planned for a while, and we're just waiting until the market went into this slow period. Like, we literally entered Goblin Town for both crypto and the NFT market, and then this came out. Like, do you think they were waiting in the wings for the right time, or had they always planned on this being the drop? That's I think that would say a lot about the team's foresight and what they want to do with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they did, that's pretty smart. It's the ultimate troll.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think it's just a breath of fresh air, like you said. Like, people are very, very down at the moment, and people just don't know. They don't want anything to do with NFTs or crypto. So like this coming out, it's getting people excited. We're seeing high volume on this project out of nowhere. So yeah, it's fun to go back into NFTs and not everything be so bleak.
Yeah, it's everyone likes to throw around the term like early BAYC vibes, but I will say that this was I was around BAYC a year ago when it first got going, and it was similar to this, where like people were jumping into spaces making stupid ape noises. People were just like having a good time, enjoying what was happening with their NFTs. And I think we're seeing a little bit of a rehash of that now. I'm going to really quick pull up our chart that has the Goblin Town floor price, because it's pretty wild to see. We have this just crazy run up to 8.99 ETH, right around 9. And now it's pulled back. It's kind of moving sideways. And I'm really curious, what do you think this McGoblin airdrop is going to do? Like, I think it's a consumable. Like, it just makes sense that it's something that, your NFT consumes.
Right.
Where I go back and forth is, will it produce a second NFT, or will it enhance your original NFT? Like, will it actually change the metadata and make it something cooler?
I mean, it could be anything from like just another like mini goblin, kind of like Bored Ape Kennel Club, something like a small companion or something like that. From a McGoblin burger, like something like that, I would assume that would be a consumable though too. I think it'll drive the price up for sure. People are going to FOMO and like, get 2 for 1. But
and I think it could be extra cool, like if your NFT can consume multiple of them, right? Like if people get airdropped their burger and they can hold their goblin, not consume the burger, but actually sell it and like take profit that way. I think it's going to be something completely outrageous. Like there's no way that it's just some like, boring humdrum kind of thing. It's going to be something crazy. So this is the question right here. What will the OG plus airdrop floor look like? I mean, most projects we see a pullback. Like there's always going to be a pullback in the original, for the most part. Like, and then it can, some of them recover and some of them don't recover. Like we've seen Bored Apes recover. We've seen, the Doodles, they had a huge drop before their airdrop and after, and they've kind of recovered a little bit. Same thing with Clone X. World of Women has struggled after their drop. So I think it totally depends on what the airdrop is. Like I said, if it's kind of a deflationary asset, like mutant serums were for Bored Ape Yacht Club, I could totally, and if they're like, say there are different levels of burger, like there's a single, a double, and a triple, McGoblin burger, something like that, it could absolutely, be one of those things where it does come back. And we've seen, a pretty big drop from that 9 back to 6 after the news of, the airdrop today. So I wouldn't expect to see the Goblins pull back to like 3 or anything. Like, I don't think they're going to get cut in half again. And if it's like a really cool, innovative thing, I could honestly see them going up in value because people may be, have more faith in the team to actually do something. Like, I know they said they don't have a roadmap. There's no utility. But if they do something really cool and innovative with this, why couldn't they do something like that again in the future?
Right. And honestly, if they do something like that, it's like, how smart is this team actually? You know what I mean? Like, there could be so much potential value if they're just doing stuff like this and they know how to play with, the community in a way where it's like fun and engaging, but at the same time, it has like tons of value.
Do you, the big speculation that is, it started early on with Goblins, and I say early on, like last week, and then it kind of took a pause. Now it's happening again, is that Yuga Labs is involved with this. Do you think that there's anything, any merit to those rumors?
I mean, if you can see, it'd be kind of interesting to see at Ape Fest if they just do something with Goblins and ends up being, this NFT. Yeah. So, that would just make this thing blow up. But, it was 1% allocation, right? From the deck that we saw. That was Goblins.
They were expecting 1% of their revenue for the year to come from secondary sales of something called Goblins. My initial thought was that was related to Other Side. Like that was going to be the counterpart to the Codas, was going to be the Goblins. But I could be totally wrong. Like, I have no idea.
And it's just that you haven't put it. So, these Goblins could actually be something with the Other Side. And, we see the reveal at Ape Fest or NFT NYC. And I don't know. I think it would be a good, for 1%, just like you guys just trying it, seeing if it works. They're just doing it. That'd be kind of ultimate troll. It'd just be fun.
And we've seen all these ridiculous derivatives pop up off of Goblins. If you follow any of these Twitter accounts that show like the hourly top mints or whatever, it's just like Goblin or, Elf Town or Orc Town or whatever. And unfortunately, there was I think like a Doodle Goblin mint today that was a trap, and it drained some people's wallets who tried minting it. So definitely something to keep in mind. Like these derivatives, none of them really sustain any value long term. It is a pure gamble play. You're hoping to mint it for free or for very cheap. and try to flip it quickly. So is it really, if you have a hot wallet that has nothing else in it, then sure, go for it if it's a free mint. But if you only have, a couple wallets and you're minting from one that has some other NFTs in it, even if they're low cost ones, they're just not worth, risking that to get a flip of like 0.03 ETH, in my opinion.
Yeah, totally.
It just doesn't make sense to me. So no idea when the burgers are going to drop, but I imagine it's going to be pretty crazy once it does. So the big winner of the last 24 hours we've seen is Boki. That ran up from a 0.4 floor to now like 1.7. Do you any thoughts there on like what caused that? What was the catalyst behind that? Besides like people liking it, I saw a few people tweeting about it who have larger followings, and that got a little bit of excitement. But any opinions on that?
I absolutely have no idea. So I saw this project maybe a few days ago before it took a run up, and I was looking at the roadmap, and for me, I personally didn't see much value or anything to it. I like the artwork, and maybe that's what people are like gravitating towards when they're looking at this. But this run-up's been pretty insane.
Yeah, I know there's a really well-known like crypto and NBA guy named Haralabis who goes by Haralabob on Twitter. He tweeted that he like did a floor sweep of it, and right around that time, things started to take off. So that could be part of it, but. Yeah, like I looked at the website as well, and I was like, okay, this looks kind of neat, but nothing about it really seemed to differentiate. Like it used a lot of buzzwords, like we're building our own world and all this stuff. I'm just like, yeah, but there's 1,000 projects who are trying to do that same thing. Like what's going to make this one different? And it had its moment, and we'll see if that moment continues or if it pulls back.
Exactly. Just another cute PFP in my opinion.
Yeah. What have you, because Dan and I have our stuff that we always talk about. Dan's always talking about the llamas, and I'm always talking about the apes. Where are you focusing most of your attention right now in the market?
I've been looking at a few projects. One, oddly enough, is one that Dan talked about earlier on their podcast. It's the Kryptongoons.
Okay.
I love the artwork for those. I think they got an amazing team. I'm constantly in the Discord. Did
they just drop like their portal kind of thing where you can enter your goon into the portal? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's you take your original NFC that you bought, and then it goes into this portal. It's like Wonky World or something like that. And on the other side, it comes out, and you lose the 1950s, 60s cartoon style, and then maybe even earlier. It's probably earlier than that. But you end up with like this gradient, super trippy NFT. Same exact traits and everything like that, except it's like more colorful. Everything looks like it's got tons of highlights, chrome almost. And the art looks like they're just pretty cool.
Nice. So yeah, I know one of the guys behind it, just from like fantasy football stuff, and he, is Ryan Hodge is his name. He's like one of the founders, I think, of Kryptongoons. Yeah. What else do they have in store coming up? Like, I've seen it like from the jump, and like the original artwork, I do think was very unique and really cool. And so I think this is a pretty innovative thing that they're doing, which always grabs my attention. Like, what has you, besides this, excited about the project long term?
I think their whole thing was that they wanted to be kind of like a streetwear company. So the goons would end up being, in clothing and stuff like that. And the fact that they kind of just like are focusing on one thing and they're doing it pretty well, I think that's just, I think that has a lot of long-term value. They're not going to try and go into the metaverse doing like creating a game or anything like that. They just want to do this. They want to make some cool artwork. Another thing I kind of saw was that when you go to their past portal, there's like 6 slots. So I'm assuming that the NFT is going to change throughout time. So they're probably going to keep doing stuff like that.
So if you go to OpenSea, are there some that are on there like in the original one and some that are in like the new style one from the portal?
I believe so. Let me check.
Yeah, I know that they also have a partnership with Urban Outfitters, speaking of the streetwear side of things. So they are doing that. Has there been any like exclusive merch for holders or like any sort of like discount at Urban Outfitters on their gear for people who hold it? Like, I think that'd be a pretty cool use case for it as well.
That'd be amazing. I know they did come out with a merch drop back in like December, right around Christmas, and you can connect your wallet and stuff like that. And they actually gave their users or holders pretty good discounts, and the stuff is pretty cool. So I can only imagine that, if you start seeing goons at Urban Outfitters, that I think that's just going to bring more people who have no idea what these things are into the community, and we could just see some really, really cool streetwear. I'm saying I don't see any of the portal ones on OpenSea right now.
Okay, no worries. So keep your eye on Kryptongoons. We had a reveal today for the Akumu Dragons. I'm not sure if you've been paying attention to that at all. That wasn't too high up on my radar. I believe this was a project that, I think they had a version of this on Solana, and they just recently did something, on OpenSea, via Ethereum. So they had the reveal earlier this morning. The floor dipped right after reveal. It was going for around 0.75, 0.8 pre-reveal, and it dipped to about 0.5, and now it's actually recovered back up to its pre-reveal price of about 0.83. So, a pretty good distribution there of owners. They have 9.4K items in the collection, over 50% unique ownership, which is really good, and a solid volume as well. So that's another project that we could see continue to run throughout the weekend. I think we're set up for the possibility of a pretty strong weekend as far as trading volume goes, and that's one to definitely keep your eye on right there. And then the other big companion drop this week was the Quirklings, which, being a grown man and saying the word Quirkies and Quirklings is really not the direction I thought my life would be going right now, but that's where we are at the moment. So if you are a Quirkies holder, which there are 5,000 Quirkies, you were able to claim, and you still can claim, your Quirkling, which is a companion piece. They had a additional 5,000 available via an allow list and then public sale. From what I could tell, the public sale sold out in like 2 to 3 minutes. I think, half of those went in the allow list. Last time I was like going back and forth between watching like the Avalanche game and the NBA Finals game, and then like the Quirklings were coming on at the same time. So I kind of, I wasn't able to mint as many as I was hoping to. I got the 2 claimed for my Quirkies, but they went pretty quick, and we've seen a pretty steady increase on the floor. The reveal is happening, 24 to 48 hours after the sellout. So that should be either tonight or tomorrow night. So keep your eye out on that. But, the floor has consistently gone up. It dropped as low as like 0.2, and now it's around 0.295. And there's been a lot of, for that price, a lot of volume on it. We already have a unique ownership there of 4.1K. I believe for the Quirkies, they've held around like 2.2 to 2.3K owners for their 5,000 piece collection. So it's good to see some new people getting in that way. Have you been keeping your eye on this one at all?
No, actually, I have not. This one, that's pretty good though. That it's just bringing more people into the ecosystem. So
yeah, and I think there's potential for this to grow into something. Like I bought back in February just because I saw them and they were like 0.12 at the time, and they looked cool. The team behind it, one of them is an early Bored Ape holder, so he's kind of not running the project exactly like BAYC, but he's doing like the companion thing. And I think there will be, they're trying to like build up this story, and there's like, kind of universe of theirs where there's going to be kind of like the evil side of things coming sooner than later. Like the Quirklings are there to help the Quirkies defend their world against whatever invaders are coming. So they have a cool website. They have like a pretty good hype video. They just did their first merch drop, which was pretty solid. We'll see how that comes out. Like, everyone does merch at this point, so it's not anything too unique. But if the quality of it is good and they continue to tell the story, and I know quite a few ape holders who are big into this. Not that that means anything. Like, let's be honest, like most ape holders aren't smarter than any other person in the NFT space, but there is that if you find that to be compelling. So just another thing to look out for this weekend is the Quirklings reveal. And the price on Quirkies dropped, as everything does, post companion. It went from about 2.2 down to 1.7. So, going back to Dickens's discussion on, the OG plus the airdrop price, definitely a fall off there. But I think we'll see it recover. I think the Quirkies are pretty cool, and we'll have some room to run moving forward. So we talked at the top of, where we think the market is headed. I want to dive into that a little bit more because we see so much uncertainty right now in crypto and stocks, and NFTs, this year at least, have provided a decent return for a lot of people. They're obviously prices have fallen from their all-time highs, but not as bad as a lot of cryptocurrencies had. So, what do you think are some of the potential catalysts to move us up or down in the coming weeks and months?
In terms of the NFT market, it really depends on crypto at the moment. Just the value is not there. It keeps dropping. People are just going to either drop or not trade at all.
Yeah.
I still think there's potential room for the downside more so.
Mm-hmm.
We're going sideways, and if we want bullish confirmation, Bitcoin's got to get above the EMAs. We got to see some more of a V-shaped recovery. Right now, we're just kind of like flatlining. So
yeah,
I would say we still have maybe a month or two, maybe more downside, but I think once we start seeing some bullish confirmation, I think things can start to really blow up.
Yeah, it's been just this slow bleed of like we've had like some sideways movement, and then we'll just like get a quick leg down, and then sideways movement, and then another leg down. It's been really frustrating. At this point, I almost want it to just like crash down and bottom out to where it's going to be, so that then we can start the recovery. Like this slow, just kicking the balls that we keep getting is really, really annoying.
And if we have been in like a bearish trend and we're still in somewhat of a bull market, this would be like the last wave up or something like that. So I wouldn't imagine, I think things would blow up really quick. It'd be less of a kind of like last year where it was building up to October. I think we could see an explosive, blow off top, and that could be for crypto, NFTs. And it's kind of even playing it nicely with like both the SEC case with XRP and with ETH 2.0, because that keeps getting bullied. So like once staking, you can unstake your ETH and people start taking profits, you just start seeing all that money flowing everywhere.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what that, because everyone's like, oh, well, the price of ETH is going to go up after the merger. But what if people who've been staking for a long time are like, I need to get some cash, I got to sell and start taking some money out? Like that could also drive it down. Will some of that ETH flow over into NFTs? I think that's also a possibility. One thing that I'm looking at as a potential catalyst is NFT NYC. I know, you talked earlier on, it's totally true that like the summertime is usually pretty slow for trading and NFTs. We saw it last year. We had a slow summer. But we also saw that after NFT NYC, the market really took off. And so I think that NFT NYC has the potential to show people why NFTs, again, are so cool. Like if these events top last year, and I think we will, a lot of new people have entered the NFT market since last NFT NYC in November, early November of 21. If some of these new people, have a great experience at NFT NYC, continue to see what is, the possibility, I 100% agree with this. Like, I think, Proof is putting on a huge party. Ape Fest is going on for 4 days. Every major project has an event at like some pretty cool looking places. And if people start to see like, oh yeah, like I've held this NFT for a year and I get to do this cool experience every year, and they're just going to keep making it better. At some point they can't make it better, but they're going to keep making things better. I think that could re-energize people as to why some of this is so valuable.
Definitely. Yeah. Right now it's just everyone's afraid, but once they see the value again and it's not as expensive as it was back in October or anything like that in December, I think people will start buying back in too.
Yeah, I don't know if people are going to buy in. Like I've heard some rumblings like, oh yeah, Bored Apes and Mutants are going to take off before because people like want to get into the parties. I don't know if anyone's going to drop that kind of money on an NFT just to get into a party. That seems a bit excessive. But I could definitely see afterwards being like, oh shit, they had great performers in their 4 nights at Ape Fest, because where they're having it is this huge open air concert venue that looks super cool. I think that could get people pretty fired up again. Also, if there's a really awesome, they're going to do some more teasing of Other Side and what that is to come there. And then they've already said in July that the first portion of Other Side is going to be playable as a demo, or is going to be demoed. I don't know if they said it's going to be playable for sure, but I think there's a lot to get excited about. And so this bear market, I think, has the potential to end in the next like 4 weeks, and we see really things start to rip. But if NFT NYC doesn't go well and people are disappointed by it and the vibes are low, because right now vibes are low across the board, I think that could further, send us into an even deeper bear market.
Yeah, it's crazy how everything's like dependent on sentiment, just like the entire community. Uh, right now, everyone's just completely out of it. But again, just takes one catalyst, and you'll just see maybe price discovery for a lot of projects.
Yeah, and we've seen, with the Goblins that there is money on the sidelines. Like people are sitting on ETH right now. There's so much uncertainty. And I put this out on Twitter yesterday. Like I consume a lot of NFT content, and I hear a lot of hosts saying the same things like, well, we're just kind of waiting. We're waiting to see what happens before we redeploy capital. And from my time, like in various markets, like if you're following what everyone else is doing, you're going to be a step behind. So I think right now is a good time to make some conviction bets of, okay, do I think we're going into a deeper bear market? If so, I'm not going to worry that my stuff is down right now. I'm going to sell anyways and wait till we go even deeper. Or if you're of the opinion that we're on the verge of another bull market, now is the time to deploy capital. Like everyone is looking at the same things. They're going and they're looking at the analytics sites and seeing like, oh, what's total volume looking like? These same kind of indicators of where are we going. And as soon as those like start to show the data that everyone's looking for, everyone's going to try to enter at the same time.
Right.
And so I think finding a few projects that you think are undervalued right now and making some conviction bets around it, not financial advice, is the contrarian move that everyone's afraid to make right now that they're going to wish they did in the coming months.
Completely agree. Yeah. Like you said, when Bitcoin hit 50,000, everyone started buying in. What happened? Like Memorial Day weekend, everything dropped. Everyone got liquidated. So definitely best to be ahead of the game and do your own research and do your own homework to make a better choice about those conviction bets.
Yeah, there's a lot of these, and the lazy analysis is like 99% of projects are going to zero. It's like, okay, cool. But like, there are plenty that aren't going to, and we should probably focus on those also. Like, I think there's plenty of value in continuing to hold on to stuff like anything CloneX related. Like Artifact is not going anywhere, right? Like, so anything tied to them. There are a lot of open editions from really great artists. Like I was looking at some open editions from Ferocious that are trading around like 1 ETH, which isn't a small amount of money. I get that. But for, a young up and coming artist to get one of his early open editions for, that price, I think is pretty solid. Obviously, BAYC is going to be around. That's a really higher entry point. They don't have anything too cheap at the moment, although I think there is more coming from them. And then, you have Doodles with the duplicator. You have World of Women, which I still think is poised to rebound and recover. My biggest conviction bet for the next quarter is going to be Gutter Cat Gang. Like I personally think, once again, not financial advice, if you're active in the NFT markets and you don't have any exposure to Gutter Cat Gang entering the third quarter of this year, you're going to regret that. Like so much good stuff is coming with them. They've continued, they just had an announcement where they're partnering with Stadium Goods. If you're a big sneakerhead, like that's a well-known name in the streetwear industry. Like they're partnering with them. They just had a partnership with Juggernaut in Chicago, which is another streetwear brand. They're doing a lot of cool things that aren't getting picked up on right away, which to me just shows that their team is continuing to work, and there will be a blow off of Gutter Cat Gang at some point, and people are going to look back and it's going to be a very obvious play that, if you had, whether it's like just a clone for like 0.12, or if you want to deploy enough to get, an OG Gutter Cat, piece, like I think that's a smart move right now.
Yeah, definitely. While the chips are down, it's like, load up if that's what you believe in. It's like,
yeah,
because we see these things in this space. It's like when the money comes in, everything goes up so fast, and obviously it will crash fairly close after that, but definitely profits to be made.
Yeah, and like the shitty derivatives aren't going to make it. Let's just be very honest about that. But some of these other projects absolutely will. And, we are constantly beating the drum of like, take profits when things are running, because right now, if you had taken profits, which I hope you did, this is a great opportunity to redeploy some of that. You set aside some cash, you take your profit, but you also can redeploy and get back in at low points like this. So just something else to keep in mind moving forward of like, no one's going to be perfect in trading, but you got to learn some of these lessons and not repeat them again in the future.
Exactly.
Like so many people just repeat the same thing. Like, did you take profits? Nope. You regretting that? Yup. Like you gotta learn at some point.
It's easy to lose money in this space, especially Yeah, I mean, it just is like you can sell. I don't know what
And
I'm
the
saying.
easiest way to do it is to, follow the herd and try to catch the falling knife, if you will, of what are the influencers pumping now. If they're pumping it now, then they're probably already, their bags are packed, or they're trying to use you for exit liquidity. So
Yeah, it's too late at that point.
yeah, be smart there. Okay. I think that about wraps it for today. Like I said, some interesting stuff to look out for this weekend. The McGoblin burgers dropping. What's that going to do to the floor of goblins? What is that going to entail altogether? Are we going to see more 5 hour long spaces where people are talking in goblin? Because I mean, that's pretty wild. And then the Quirklings reveal. Those are the two pieces I'm keeping my eye on this weekend. How about you?
Yeah. So I would say the Goblins is one thing that I think is probably I see being the most valuable this weekend to look
Mm-hmm.
at. Like, there's just money to be made, opportunity there. Uh, Again, it's also just this is too fun not to watch at this point.
Yeah.
And then some other projects, just looking at the new issue of the Huxley saga. I think they just minted last week. I think
Yeah.
that's a great.
So, okay, we won't shut it down quite yet. So, talking about Huxley, because do you know much about this project?
I do. So a long time ago, I used to be a visual effects supervisor. So I actually
Okay.
knew more beforehand. And then once I saw that he was part of the project, I was like, oh, this might be pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's pretty deep. It feels like it's, on like Pixel Vault level of like there's a lot going into it, like the different comics and then the different like characters. Like, can you kind of give us a quick, 60-second rundown of what the project entails?
Yeah. So like pretty much it's this, I would say like futuristic dystopia where it's a mix of have you ever seen the movie Dread? Or
No.
okay, so it's kind of like a dirty future. There's a lot of um, robots and androids and stuff like that, and they're trying to find this one android. His name's Huxley, and they find him, and there's information on this robot that they can't extract, but they have to like bring him across and get him back safe. But then there's crime lords and stuff like that. So it's super expansive. Like it's a bunch of stories that are going into it. But it's just the visuals are amazing in this. Obviously he's no slouch when it comes to those. He's worked on Elysium and Chappie, I can definitely see the inspiration in some of like his character design with this and the world building.
Well,
But
and we've talked about it a little bit before. He also did a lot of work for video games, right? Like he was involved in Halo early on.
yeah, and that's the other thing that's really cool because I'm not sure if they've announced this yet or not, but with his background in gaming, and I know there is a feature film coming out, and some of the footage already looks amazing. Like, could you see a potential video game coming out of this? Do you know what I mean?
Well, there's that trailer. Is that a trailer for a movie or for a game?
I was on the assumption that that was a full CG, complete 3D film.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because I mean the rendering is again amazing and it looks great, but I'm pretty sure that that's for the film, and I think there's been talks for the film that they're working on it, but I can't not see this being a video game at some point. Like,
Okay.
just he's worked with Insomniac Games.
Yeah, his connections are crazy.
Yeah, MPC, which is the biggest visual effects house in the world, next to what's the one? What a Digital, which he's also worked for. So,
Okay.
so much experience, and yeah, it's insane.
So, what do you think has held this back from really getting big? Like, is it just the depth of it? Like, people aren't, willing to dive in and learn all the different levels to it?
It could be a few things. I think the price maybe put people off. Like each issue is fairly high. Like I think the first issue is about an ETH right now. That would be like the floor for that.
Okay.
Which maybe the buying level is a little bit hard for people. But I honestly I'm not I'm really surprised. Maybe because this thing looks amazing. Like
Yeah.
this, there's a show on Netflix called Love, Death, and Robots, and it's all visual effects, complete CG, and this is what this completely reminds me of, and people love that. So I feel like it's like an IP, it's original that people would gravitate to, and there's so much room for growth with it.
Yeah, I'm looking, I have the robots pulled up on OpenSea, And there's like, it's 1,000 supply for the robots. Floor is like 3.75.
Yeah.
Then we have like the humans, and then there's another one that's going to be coming soon. So there's a lot of levels to this.
Mm-hmm. And there's even
a lot of levels to this.
For the comics, there's like 10 special edition gold comics and stuff like that allow you to have even better perks or like more exclusive perks than if you build some of the other comics, or if you burn them into, I think it's like an AI pass you can get. And then I can't even see what the roadmap is unless you get like an AI pass, which is pretty insane, like for roadmap 2. So it's that exclusive right now.
Okay. Huh. If he pulls it off, that could be something really awesome. It's so do you view that as is that kind of a high conviction bet of yours moving forward? Like I mentioned Gutter Cat Gang for like Q3 of this year. I'm going to put you on the spot. What is something that you see, way undervalued now that you think will blow up in the next, 3 to 4 months? Once again, not financial advice.
Yeah, definitely not financial advice. I would say this is a good project in terms of value that you would get. Maybe not so much in terms of price discovery, but definitely one that there's a lot of value you can get out of being part of this community, getting things like merchandise, like there's action figures, exposure to maybe even if they do come out with a game, maybe you are one of the first ones to try it, first to see the film. So there's a bunch of stuff I think that comes with that value.
This seems like a longer term kind of play.
Definitely.
Like a multi-year kind of a thing.
I would agree. There's just, and with the amount of visuals that are in it and how much it would take, he would need such a massive team to fully pull it off. But for price discovery, I really like 8-Bit Me. It's about 0.29 ETH, I think, right now.
Okay.
I would have thought that would have taken off a lot more. It was originally started like 10 years ago or 12 years ago as just like an avatar, like create your own 8-bit avatar. But blockchain wasn't around. It was before Bitcoin, and they redeployed it this year. And I saw I think it was the creator. His name's Addison. He was on a Twitter space with Gary Vee, and they were talking about it. And Gary Vee is like super bullish on it. And I was looking at it, and I'm like, okay, these are pretty cool. Price is fairly cheap right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would say you could easily see these above an ETH, I feel.
Okay. What's the collection on OpenSea?
I think it's just 8-Bit Me. So 8.
Okay. I'm trying to find it on here. Is it is the bit me one all one word?
Yeah, it's EIGHTBIT, all one word, and then just me, space me.
Oh, okay. 8-bit, gotcha.
Like the artwork.
So floor is at almost 0.3 now.
Yeah.
So they're getting a little bit of traction there. Okay.
I just think that it's undervalued at this point. I think there is room for growth, and especially if they can deliver on some of their merch things, and the fact that they're saying that they're under promising right now, which is one thing that we always look for, and they're going to hopefully deliver. That's might be a safe bet with a good team.
Yeah, that's definitely one thing to always keep your eye on, is like something promising the world right off the bat, run the other way.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So Gutter Cat Gang, 8-Bit Me, our conviction bets for Q3 of this year. I'll have to be on the lookout for an 8-bit. If it goes well, I'll give you all the credit in the world. If it doesn't, I'll give you all the blame as well. So that is going to wrap it up for today. Once again, please like and subscribe to our channel. Head over to FLOLiO.com, link your account, download the browser extension, check out the tools we have. And any feedback is also greatly appreciated. You can find us on Twitter at FLOLiO_. You can find me at JWeb777. Kevin, you got a Twitter handle you want to throw out there?
Yeah, it's at KShanFT. So KShanFT.
Okay, KShanFT. Well, that'll do it for today. We'll be back on Tuesday with a new episode. I hope everyone has an awesome weekend. If you're keeping your eye on the markets, we'll be definitely talking about Goblin Town and what these McGoblin burgers do next week. So for Kevin, for the team at FLOLiO, I am Jeremy. Hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will see you next time.